Welcome to Science and Jesus. I'm going to talk today about evolution and how it fits in with God, and how I actually think it supports the existence of God. For me, it proves the existence of God. For abiotic genesis of life to have occurred, which is what a lot of people think of when someone says evolution, multiple places you needed evolution to occur multiple times. When I talk about evolution, I'm really talking about just one example, and this is the example that if you Google evolution, this is what comes up. This is what we have hard data on. The others don't really come up that frequently. You have to really dig to find them, but I'm going to point them out to you because I think it's important. The first one of those 5 that are hard to find is cosmic evolution. This is the Big Bang, where time, space, energy, matter, all of that came from nothing. Here I put nothing with a little asterisk because if you go back to Einstein's theory of relativity, he actually proves, the possibility of alternate universes existing, where material could have come from an alternate universe, which really feels cyclical to me because we don't see that happen. And also it feels like a cop-out where we say, oh, it just didn't come from our universe, but like another one for sure it would have worked there, but doesn't make sense. Chemical evolution. This is where we got all of the elements on the periodic table. The thought here is that solar energy caused atoms to combine into more complex ones. So there was a bunch of hydrogen that combined into helium, and then more of those combined into carbon, and then eventually we get all of the different elements. But the problem that I find there, again, that I think is a cyclical thought process, is that you needed solar energy, which relies on molecules. So I don't know how the two really allow for that to occur. I don't understand it. And online I couldn't find sources quickly or easily that support it. It was a lot of just like, this is what it is, and not why, how, any of that. The third one, planetary and stellar evolution. So stellar evolution has never been observed. I didn't actually research if planetary, if we've seen planets form, but we've never seen a star form, which feels kind of crazy because there are a septillion stars that we've seen that according to NASA, don't come at me for that number, but go to NASA. The fourth one is organic evolution. So the origin of life forms, nucleic acids, the language of DNA and RNA. Think like a computer, how it's zeros and ones, how that's a language. We see the same thing, but more complex and literally living and can work on itself in cells, in life forms. The fifth one that I want to talk about is macroevolution, which is the concept that a single cell turned into a eukaryotic cell, or I'm sorry, a single cell could be eukaryotic, but a prokaryotic cell turned into a eukaryotic cell, turned into a multicellular organism, and then from that, all of the species that we have observed today, as well as the estimated 10 to 30 million that we have not observed, came from. Really, one of the biggest points and most important points here that I wanted to make was with microevolution, the reason it's different than macroevolution and why I don't believe you can just say macroevolution is just a bunch of microevolution happening, is because when you start with a beetle and you breed them, you interbreed them, you try to select for different character traits, you're never going to end up with a dog. And when you start with a dog and you breed them a bunch of times and you try to get a unique new characteristic, you're not going to end up with a beetle, right? And that is what macroevolution is claiming. So I feel like a lot of these, humans weren't there to directly observe. When we look at our timeline, humans evolved later. So all of this, we have to prove very heavily because we don't have observation of it. Microevolution, we can observe, and that's where a lot of this is formed from, is what we have observed. But I think it's a really dangerous conversation when you say evolution is true and you don't specify that these kinds aren't necessarily true. From what I found, they're not true, and I'm gonna do more videos on that, I promise. But this form of evolution, microevolution, supports there being a designer, supports there being a creator, supports there being an intelligent mind behind all of the changes we're seeing. These are likely to be driven by something. When you look at a painting, you don't think, okay, there was some weird explosion and red paint went there and yellow paint went there and blue paint went there and somehow they mixed and it looks like a house and that just came from nothing. Or when we see a computer, we know that somebody designed it. There aren't examples that I see elsewhere in life where there is not a designer or something that caused it to happen. So that is why I think evolution supports the existence of God and it should be talked about more. If you have questions, please leave them below and let me know. Thanks for watching.